We're in the Chehalis Valley this morning, checking out spotted owl habitat logging. Jeff's got big map spread out on the hood of the pickup truck.
I did. So we're heading into the Chehalis WHA, kind of brown blobby thing here. It's one of the ones that allows logging. It's managed forest habitat. WHA, wildlife habitat area, that the BC government set aside to supposedly protect spotted owl habitat.
Once you're in this landscape, you really get a sense what's going on. So I'm standing in what was, until recently, core critical habitat as mapped by the federal government. And you can see this cut block is stumps, and it's been logged. And just over here, the next place we're going to visit, also sort of in the same vicinity, in the same landscape, is another area of forest that we droned. It's still standing, but it's approved for logging by the BC provincial government. So you can see just in this surrounding, what's happening is some of the last stands of forest habitat have been logged in the last few years or are about to be logged. At the very time that the province and the federal government has been talking about forest protection for spotted owl, at the very time that the provincial government has been saying, hey, we're doing everything we can do, the provincial government's been handing out permits for logging like this. It's a huge problem, and it's facilitated by the constant delaying of the federal government from enacting an emergency order to put a stop to this. This is exactly the kind of place that we've come to document, because if you don't see it with your own eyes, you wouldn't believe this story. Jeff, what are we looking at?
Well, this down here, we're looking at this is in a WHA, so the feds have called this critical habitat, but not only that, the province has called it suitable habitat, and it's being logged right now. If you look down there, this is a cut block that's been approved, and now it's being logged. And here we are, and it's horrible.
So I'll take you through it step by step. That sound you hear is the radio that we carry, so we don't get run over by a logging truck. So we hear the logging crews on the radio safety device. The WHA that Jeff is talking about is a wildlife habitat area designation. It's a BC designation. This is a wildlife habitat area designated for spotted owl habitat. Now I use that word designated instead of protected, because what the public doesn't understand is many of these wildlife habitat areas for spotted owls, the province still allows logging companies to apply for and get permits to log them. And that's what's happening here right now in front of our eyes. This wildlife habitat area is being logged right now. Now this is, Jeff calls this suitable habitat. What he means is this is an older forest. Spotted owls could move into this habitat right now. This is precious, precious existing habitat. Much of our hopes for spotted owl revolve around growing second growth forests for a further 50 years until they become habitat. But this habitat is good to go right now, and yet it's being logged. Jeff talked about critical habitat, federally designated critical habitat. The federal government has a draft map where this forest and other forests like it have been mapped as critical habitat.
And not only that, but core critical habitat, because we're in a WHA.
Critical habitat in a WHA is the most important habitat to protect, according to the federal government. And it's being logged. You wouldn't believe it unless you saw it with your own eyes. Because what the federal government does and the provincial government does is they use these designations when they're trying to calm the public. But the truth is, logging companies continue to get permits to log this stuff, which is why the spotted owl is the most endangered species in Canada, with only one female owl left in the wild that we know of, and another 30 in the province of BC's captive breeding program. They hatch baby spotted owls. In the forest, they're issuing permits like this to cut down the critical habitat. This has to stop. We have to force the federal government to finally take action with an emergency order and put in place and enforce their recovery plan for spotted owl. And that means protecting these forests, not BSing the public that they have some fancy designation, because the fancy designations they have aren't stopping the province from doing this, from issuing permits to log these last habitat forests. Where are we going next?
Well, we're actually gonna go up, just up the road here, just another 100, 200 meters from here, pending cup lock. Double check my map, but I believe it's also critical habitat. I don't think it's suitable habitat, but we're gonna check that out. But it's definitely in the federal government's critical habitat designation. Again, core critical habitat, because we're in a WHA. So this, we're gonna go check it out.
We are about to go for a walk in the woods. So pending means the company has applied for it, but they haven't gotten permission to log yet. So they applied to the BC government, a BC Forest Ministry, for a permit, and they haven't got it yet. This is spotted owl, federally mapped critical habitat.
Yeah, core critical habitat. So we're in a WHA.
This one's in a WHA. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. This is not suitable habitats. So when we go for a walk in the forest, we're going to see the old stumps when this forest was logged a long time ago. And so these trees have grown up since the first logging. And so this is a second growth forest. But what the federal government has determined is that within 50 years, this forest could grow old enough, big enough, and open enough to support spotted owls.
That's right.
Which is why they designate it as critical habitat. Well, what's so critical about it? What's critical is logging has fragmented the forest so much in the valley, and you see that when we drone around. It's fragmented, which means there's many, many blocks of logged forests, that the forest is essentially broken. And in order to heal it, to provide enough forest habitat and forest habitat that connects, federal government biologists have had to identify second growth forests that have the potential to become habitat again within the next 50 years. So these are very, very precious forests because they're situated in the right place to be able to stitch the forest habitat back together, and they're old enough to have some hope in the next 50 years of coming back. That's the hope of bringing spotted owls back from the brink of extinction, and many other species as well. So this is a very important forest, but it's a very important forest that a logging company has proposed to log and are now waiting for permission to log.
Yeah, and sometimes these permissions are usually pretty quick. So we can get an approval here pretty quick, I think. Usually in a few weeks kind of thing.
This forest would go down very fast if the company got a permit to log it. So let's go for a walk in the forest. This is our last stop of the day. It looks pretty nice, this second growth forest, eh?
Totally, and it's so hot today here that's going to be nice to be in the shade, in the nice shady forest.
Looks nice and mossy. Look how easy it is to walk in. It's kind of a flat forest. Anyway, let's stop talking and start walking. Here we are.
Beauty.
A forest that's come back after logging. And
look at all the mossy forest floor.
You can see an old cedar stump over there. And the first cut. Wow. This is beautiful.
Looking pretty nice in here. Starting to put all the structure in it. Start to spread out a little bit, the trees.
A lot of stuff has come back. What hasn't come back is spotted owls and a bunch of other species as well. And so the goal is to bring those back. Still in the Chehalis Valley, we stopped by the Statlu Valley, which is a major tributary of the Chehalis. We took pictures of the signs. They've gated the road, and essentially they lock the gate at 3:30 every day. According to the sign, the gate's locked now. So they gate off that entire valley while all this spotted owl habitat's endangered. We're just discussing how do we safely go up and photograph that when you get locked in every night. This is a real pain, and they give no reason for it, eh?
Yeah, there's no reason. Sometimes you see a sign about grizzly or something, but they have no reason. There's no signs why they're locking the gate. It's a public road, so I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah, so we'll check that out, because we got to get up there, and they just make our life more dangerous and difficult. That's the report on the Statlu Gate. It's Sunday and late July 2023, and I'm walking down now. It's lunchtime, taking a break to have some lunch. I've been cycling up the Statlu Creek Road. There's my bike. A bike in the bushes. I've been cycling up the Statlu Creek Road, which is part of the Chehalis river system. I'm in a spotted owl wildlife habitat area, and I've been doing a series of trips up into provincially designated wildlife habitat areas to check out approved logging blocks inside the wildlife habitat. I'm looking especially at federally designated, on their draft map, federally designated critical habitat for the spotted owl. And there's a bunch of cut blocks up here. I know it sounds complicated, but bottom line is they're logging the spotted owl to death. That's something. Now you'd expect people to be in here cooling off, but what's happened is, the reason I'm cycling up here, is this road has been gated and there's no reason for it. They'll tell you why. There's been a gate on this road for quite some time. Just the logging companies cutting down spotted owl habitat are allowed up here. Doesn't look like they work on the weekend, which is why I've chosen the weekend to cycle up here and see what they've been doing in the back of the Statlu. Gotta say, the grade here is pretty good. Higher up on those mountainsides, it'll be unlogged up top there. Oh, I can see some fresh logging coming up. I think we're closing in on the area I've come to see. I brought the drone with me, so we'll get that up. And get some close shots of this logging. Yeah, it looks like we're pretty getting on the right trail here. This sign kind of points the way. It's all legal. The company has gotten the permission from the province. The problem is it's driving this species towards disappearing completely. The only hope is that we can get spotted owls back into habitat. There's about 30 spotted owls in a breeding program. They're in cages in Fort Langley, run by the province. There's additional spotted owls in the US. So the hope is that all of the remaining habitat for spotted owl can be protected, and that enough of the second growth forest can be grown back to the point in the next 50 years where we have enough habitat all connected to bring the species back from the brink. The problem is the federal government's on track for this. They've mapped out the habitat, the critical habitat that needs to be protected. It's the province of British Columbia that continues to issue logging permits, and that's what I'm here to document it. So let's bike on up the road and see what we can see. Oh, this landscape. So what we got here is a field of big stumps with little stumps all through it. So what's going on here is many years ago, many decades ago, this area was clear cut. It had big, massive old growth trees. And then the second growth is grown up. You can see some of the smaller trees up here. The federal government has mapped this out as critical habitat. It means that within 50 years, this could once again be spotted owl habitat if it was left to heal, to grow, to age into spotted owl habitat. But the provincial government, even though it had been researched and laid out as critical habitat by the federal government, has gone ahead and issued a permit for logging, foreclosing on the opportunity to have this piece of forest as healing spotted owl habitat that would allow the population to come back. That's why I'm here, documenting this. Federal government really has to enact an emergency order. They have the power under the Species at Risk Act, and quickly put an end to this. I am seeing so much of this type of logging rapidly taking down the future for spotted owl and also other forest-dependent species. I'm up in the Chehalis Valley, and unfortunately we've run in a pretty sad situation. Spotted owl, federally mapped core critical habitat, is being logged right now. Just ran into this sign. Let's have a look. Oh man. block CH826A and B. Wow, Chehalis River. Yeah. Let's see if we got another sign over here. We visited this in the springtime when it was still standing. It's just fresh fallen. So the federal government has mapped this as critical habitat for spotted owl. It's what the wilderness community went to court to protect places like this. Looks like culturally modified trees cut here. We had seen these earlier standing when we were here in the spring. In June of this year, this cut block, this forest, this critical habitat was approved for logging by the BC government in June of this year. And now I come up here and it's in the process of being logged. And the workers have gone home, but oh, look at that. That Douglas fir. Now this forest is about 80 years old. Needs to be 120 years old to be suitable spotted owl habitat. Here's the evidence here. The growth rings on this Douglas fir. It means that this would be suitable habitat in another 40 years, which is why the federal government designated this forest as critical habitat for the spotted owl, in the hopes that it could be protected and allowed to grow for another 40 years and become a suitable habitat to allow this critically endangered species to come back. But in this area of critical habitat in the Chehalis Valley, it was not to be. The province in June approved the logging permit. And now we see the trees coming down. There's two cut blocks here. This is CH826A, and across the road is 826B. I got the drone up into the air, so I can see that logging has started on that one too. The weird thing is, this forest should have double protection. I'm standing in a British Columbia spotted owl wildlife habitat management area. This is being managed by the province of British Columbia for future habitat. You can go on their website and read that and see a map of this area. But you come out here in person and you see the horrible reality. Look how fresh this road is. Just plowed through the dirt. The province has designated this as a wildlife habitat area for spotted owls to be managed for future habitat. This is the opposite of that. This is destroying any hope of this being habitat for another 120 years. We were so close, and yet this has been cut. Now the federal government also mapped this. They mapped it as critical core habitat, the most precious to be protected. But if you've been reading the news, the federal government Canada's cabinet have failed to essentially declare an emergency, and they failed to take over the management of this area and to protect it. And that failure, that decision not to enact an emergency order, has resulted in this disaster. So both the federal and provincial governments have really let us down. Now I've flown over the block, taken some pictures, but I want to get a sense of what's going on up here. See this, you can see all the dirt. It's just recently dug up. This is super fresh logging. Now this is a second growth forest that was logged. You can see some of the first growth stumps that were when this logging happened, original logging happened 80 years ago. Too much has been logged, but to bring this species back from the brink, we're gonna need habitat. Connected habitat, that's really, really important so that young owls can fledge. It's why they've been going extinct. Baby owls have been dying when they head out in this highly fragmented landscape. And so that's what the mapping of critical habitat, the habitat needed to stitch the forest back together. The province has rejected this. BC continues to argue that this kind of management is good enough. This is an extinction plan. Anyone can see that if you come out here. An extinction plan just unfolding before our eyes. I don't know if you can hear the gunshots, but there's gunshots going on all around me. That's because in its wisdom, British Columbia has designated this spotted owl wildlife habitat area as a target shooting area as well. That's their endangered species plan for the spotted owl. Oh, you probably heard that one. It's pretty close. Wow. Yeah, that's legal. I don't want to get too close to the edge. I don't want to get picked off. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, that is a spotted owl management area designated by the province of British Columbia, and also critical core habitat designated by the government of Canada to protect arguably one of the most endangered species in Canada that needs old forest.